Welcome to Chocolate for the Soul with Ramona. Today I am super excited about our show. We are here with the cast of a brand new pilot called Black Privilege. And we're going to talk to the cast members about the show. We're going to hear about their acting careers, how they came to Black Privilege. We're going to hear about the show, which is actually going to be premiered this Wednesday at Chicago Industry Night. So to my left, we have Rosalina Mota.
Yes, ma'am.
And to Rosalina's left, we have Corey Hendricks. Welcome to Chocolate for the Soul with Ramona. It's great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
Wonderful. So can you each introduce yourself and tell us the character that you play in Black Privilege?
Okay. I'll introduce myself. I'm Corey Hendricks. I play Eldon Toussaint.
Okay.
You want me to give you more information about the character?
I'm going to ask about the show in a second. So Rosalina, who do you play in the show?
I play Melinda Toussaint.
Okay, so I take it you two are married.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us about Black Privilege, the premise of the show, what the show is about.
Okay, without giving too much away, because Mark probably would kill me if I did. It's about the title, Black Privilege. It's what is Black privilege? And if Black people had privilege as a community, what would it look like? And with that privilege, how would we respond to those who don't? You could say, so to speak. So that's like a general idea of the show. It's like a community of Black folks and, their interactions with Black folks, I guess, who's not doing as well as they are, but it's a comedy. So it's like, we get to have fun with some serious stuff.
Okay. I should mention, too, Mark Harris of 1555 Films is the writer and director, creator of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really excited to see the premiere of the pilot on Wednesday. What else can you, given the show's title, Black Privilege,
mm-hmm.
how would you say it's actually defined in the show without giving too much away?
It's defined by... I think it's defined by people who has more than others and probably don't realize it, like with the resources they naturally have and like the community that they live in and dwelling together, like that kind of defines the privilege, because when people are less fortunate, sometimes we may complain about certain things that's going on with ourselves, but it's like, no, other people are going through a lot worse than you are. So it's like, you don't realize your place, is privileged. Mm-hmm. We always think, okay, I got it bad, but no, somebody else has it a whole lot worse. And, compared to their situation, you may be privileged.
Now, and the show is privilege based on socioeconomic status, education, zip code?
Both socioeconomic, education, zip code, all those things. It's like reverse gentrification.
Okay.
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us, so you guys are married. Tell us about your characters and sort of what you're like as a married couple in the show.
What are we like in America?
As a married couple, we own a cafe / like bookstore together. So, we spend a lot of time together. We're community based. We love the community, but we like to see people doing well. It's like a fun young couple,
Am I supportive?
Very supportive.
Am I loving?
You're very loving.
Am I?
Very loving, very
we'll
supportive.
Have to see.
That's why we have the business together. So it's like, it sets a good example of what people can do together. Teamwork.
And then as I mentioned to you earlier, my character, she's Dominican, his character is Haitian, so that'll be interesting to see as the show develops, mm-hmm. if we'll have, that play into mm-hmm. our characters and whatnot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Tell us about some of the other characters or families in the show.
Okay, so I'm trying to think without giving too much away. So in the show you have like I say, it's
urban farmers.
Yeah, you have those people, but like I'm trying to think, where can I start from? So say the Clash, I don't say the Clash, but you have these people who live in this community, right? So everybody's kind of similar. Like you say Simeon's character, he's married, he's a not well-to-do guy, but he's doing well, career-based, doing well, so that's kind of like the people who live amongst us. So when people when other families, not just people, but when other families come to the community, some have things to offer, like you said, farm-based people and things like that. People have things to offer the community, but it still may not be like, I guess, a perfect fit at first without really knowing people. So the families that already exist in the community, that's like, it's all about us responding to what's new. So you have we have a business together. Simeon, he's this career-driven guy. I think he's doing like construction, architecture, or something like that. And I guess you just see like the clash and like class, really. It's like classism.
Okay.
The have and have-nots.
The
How
haves
can
and
they
have-nots.
live together in the same neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
when one is infiltrating the other one, basically?
Wow. Now, the show was taped here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share some of the neighborhoods in which you filmed the pilot?
Yeah, we filmed in Inglewood.
Okay.
Yeah, the heart of Inglewood.
We filmed in Inglewood, which was cool because, in Inglewood, you always think, rundown blocks, poverty, the stereotype stuff. But Mark knows the neighborhood well, so he's like, we're gonna shoot this in Inglewood, and I'm like, this is a well-to-do community, right? So I'm like, how are we gonna pull this off, Mark? He's like, no, it's some nooks and some crannies in Inglewood that looks really nice that people don't know about, and we shot on a really, really nice block in Inglewood, so you wouldn't even think we were in Inglewood.
That's wonderful.
And the homeowner of the house that we shot in, he let us know a little bit about the history of that neighborhood. It was basically the borderline of the city beforehand. And I forgot how many years ago, but those houses used to belong to folks who were engineers, doctors, and whatnot. And that house, he's had it in his family for many years. So he's like, he'll never sell it. So he's passing it down to his sons and whatnot. But that block there was, you have mini mansions basically, but because they were at the border of the city years ago. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's going to be great for that community to actually have that come out, that the show was filmed in Inglewood. Rosalina, tell us how you came to be on Black Privilege. Like, how did you come to be cast in the show?
Well, it's 3 years in the making, basically. So I met Mark Harris 3 years ago via Facebook. Facebook is a fantastic platform. And I went and supported one of his screenings for Black Coffee. At that time, the movie already was released and whatnot, and he did a private screening, so I went to that, and we kept in contact via Facebook throughout the years. He had me audition for a role in I Used to Love Her, the web series. I didn't get cast in that, but everything happens, as I mentioned to you, when it needs to happen, when it's supposed to happen. And then I did a script reading for him earlier this year, and it was for a script that he's developing. And then he hit me up on Facebook via Messenger saying, hey, Rosalina, I have the script. I think, there's a role for you. I want you to check it out. I was like, okay. He sends me the script. I look at it. I was like, this is great. When can I audition for it? He's like, you don't have to audition. I know you can do it. So, but it was 3 years in the making, and I already had auditioned for him in the past. So he knew what I could do and what I could not do. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Corey, how about you? How did you come to be part of the cast of the show?
I've known Mark for a few years. I worked with him last year on this project. I Used to Love Her. So, I think we've been in contact regularly since that project came out last year. So he's always running things by me, like, yo, I got this project, or I have this project, I may have you in mind for something. So he sent me the script. I was like, I like it. He was like, let's do it. So it was really that simple.
Wow. Yeah. How did you get into acting, and what did you do before Black Privilege? Closer to the mic.
How did I get into acting? My mother, really. When I was a little kid, wanted to play basketball like most little black boys. And she was like, nah, you're going into drama. She just knew it because I was always telling stories, cracking jokes. So she knew that. But at the time, I was like, nah, I'm not going into drama. I'm not doing theater. And, went to high school. The hoop dreams fizzled on out. So I was like, I think I might give the acting thing a chance. And then my brother is 2 years older than me. He was in college first, and he was studying cinema. So the goal was he was going to make the movies. I was going to act in the movies. And once I got to college, I just started taking it a little more serious bit by bit. My brother was making the film, so I would just act in the student films, did some theater work on campus. Then once I graduated, I moved to St. Louis for like a year, worked with a theater company there, then moved back to Chicago in 2007. And I've just been working on a lot of independent projects since then, really. Just working.
When you studied in college, did you think you wanted to do TV and film or
Definitely. I definitely knew I
live
wanted to do TV.
theater? Okay.
I knew I wanted to do it started off with just like films, making movies and stuff like that. I wanted to act, but once I started getting more ideas, I was like, I can't just act. I need to like write and create. So when I was in school, I was telling people I wanted to be a filmmaker, which I am, but I never really told people I wanted to act. It was always film. And then I did a play like my third year in college, I think, maybe fourth year. And like the feeling I got from it, because I was already doing, like I said, my brother's student films and short films and stuff like that. But once I stepped on stage, like the response and the feeling I got, that was the first time I knew I could do this for the rest of my life, even if I'm not rich. As long as I can just take care of myself, support myself, I can do this forever.
That's awesome.
So it was a stage that did it for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. Rosalina, what about you? How did you get into acting?
Well, the original getting into acting was my dad taking me to auditions when I was a little kid. But what solidified it for me and I decided to make it a career was leaving a corporate job that I had about 10 years ago, and a friend of mine friend of my mother calling me and saying, hey, you want to be an extra in a Hollywood film? And I said, sure, why not? Get paid to hang out with superstars. And on set, I had a really good response from some of the executive producers and whatnot. And they're like, you should really go into it. You're really good. And I took it serious, and I started studying, went to college, did a program in England I got accepted into, came back, continued to study here. And it's going to be 10 years in February. So it hasn't been easy, but it's something that even when I went corporate, I kept thinking of coming back to it. I would see my friends on these shows and whatnot, and I was like, that could have been me. We were in classes together and all of that. And it's like, well, what if I go back? And, when it's supposed to happen, it happens. Yeah.
What's it like in between projects? I mean, one of the things we talk about on the show is we try to inspire people to live their dreams and their passion. I mean, I left education and started a chocolate business 7 years ago, which is unheard of, right? And yeah, it is delicious too.
It's delicious.
It is. But there are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't see in terms of running a business. And I would imagine there are a lot of things as an actor that happens, in between projects or behind the scenes that people don't see. They only see the end result, which is that you're on a TV show or you're in a movie, those kinds of things. Talk about what it's like in between projects when you're reading scripts, looking for auditions, things like that. What's it like for you?
My last major project was Chirac, where we actually met, so that was 2015. It's 2017. It's been, it depends not just so much on you, but also the casting director, what's there for you and whatnot, and how many other actors you're going against, and how many auditions you get to go on, right? The more auditions, the more opportunities you have of getting out there. But it can be heartbreaking if you allow it to be, or it can be very encouraging. You have to stay sane. So I stay sane by taking classes and having this obsessive mentality of like, oh, it's going to happen, right? Because as much as I love Facebook is also one of those platforms that allows you to see how well other actors are doing compared to how you're doing. So that downtime when you don't have a project or something's not going as you would thought it would be, you might fall into the trap of comparing yourself, and you can't do that because everyone's journey is different. So for me, I've been taking classes just to stay focused. I've been writing. So for basically the last few years, I've written 3 short films and 2 feature films. I wrote a play, and I also started writing 2 web series, and I wrote 2 children's books. Nobody knows that because I don't put it out there, but I'm working on putting it out there because I'm not waiting on people to give me opportunities anymore. I need to create roles for myself that I see myself playing, and just the things that I want to be cast in. So that's how I kind of combat the in between project situation, because if not, you go crazy and then you go back corporate, and that's just soul crushing. So,
Corey,
I guess it's the same thing. Like it's like a balance beam, I guess, because for actors it's a hustle. Like you can have the greatest gig in the world and they can pay you a lot of money, but once that gig is over, you have to find something else So in between gigs, it's like you're typically trying to find more work. You can audition as an actor, but like you said, you can only audition for what you're sent out for and what's available. So you try to create your own work, get your own creative teams or whatever, people you can collaborate with, write, create short content. But if you're creating your own stuff, that typically means you're spending money and not making any. So in between time, it's like, man, how do I make some money if I didn't make enough money from the previous project to last me to the next? So it can be you just trying to create your own content while you're auditioning and just, going through that, or maybe you have a part-time job or things like that you do to keep yourself afloat in between time, or that's really it. Just write, try to create your own short content, maybe find a side hustle, a gig in between, and it's a grind. It's not like what people think. I started acting in 2000 when I got to college. It's 2017 now, so 17 years.
That's a long time.
It's half my life.
Rosalina talked about sort of going back, leaving acting and going back to work in the corporate sector. Did you ever do that, Corey? Yeah. Did you ever give up and say, maybe this is not for me right now?
I've never given up to not act. I go through my moments. I probably go through them once a week. Like, man, forget this. But no, I've never given up. Like, when I left school in 2006, I went to St. Louis. I worked there for a year. When I came back to Chicago, I had a 9-to-5 job, but I got laid off in 2009. So since at that moment, I was acting as full-time. Any job I get will be a part-time job, or even if it's full-time, it's only going to be temporary. And that's how it's been since 2009. And, working different jobs. I think my last gig was with Catholic Charities. I was a mobile outreach worker doing stuff in the community. That was maybe 2 years or so ago. I haven't done that in maybe a couple of years, but that's it. It's acting. I go crazy if I have to do anything else. I just don't want to live my life like that. So.
That's awesome. That's how it really is your calling. It's your thing to do. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the show, Black Privilege. What was it like to work with Mark?
Mark is dope because he, as a filmmaker, he comes from an indie guerrilla style type of filmmaking. Low budget, not a lot of resources, but you get it done. And also with Mark, it's always a message. He's always saying something. It's not just entertainment for the sake of entertaining. So that's cool. And then there's good energy. Mark, he has a script, but he lets you improvise. He gives you leeway. He's not hounding you. He always has a good team of people who's working, so it makes everything real easy on set. So it was a pleasure. It's fun to do, real quick and easy. We shot a weekend?
Yeah.
Or something like that, a weekend. So
there was 3 different weekends, but at least our scenes were together were one weekend.
So it's fun. And Mark, he works fast, so it's I always tease him because prior to working with him, somebody told me man, Mark, he works fast, so he's not going to give you a bunch of takes to do stuff. So make sure when you get there, you're ready, you're prepared, because he wants to get it right, on to the next thing. So it's cool.
So, but he's very nurturing too. He allows you to have creative freedom. One thing that he said to us was, this is not just my project, this is our project, so make it your own. Mm-hmm. So even if he wrote something, certain lines, if you think there's something that might sound better, he'll allow you to do that and say it that way. And if then he chooses that that's not better, then you go back to the other way, or he might just choose your line. But he allows you to really own the character, get into the body of it, and make it your own, versus dictator style of directing, oh no, you have to do it this way, and this is it, and this is what I see. It's no, what do you see? So it's a creative collaboration between all of us. So, and it's a beautiful thing.
Now, how many members of the cast are in the show?
How many members?
How many cast members are in the show?
Let me think.
Dawn, Simeon, there's about a good 13, I think.
I'm trying to think. With speaking part, okay, me, you, Malcolm, Don, Baby.
Oh yeah.
Then I think with speaking maybe I think 8. But there's scenes with we have a few scenes with a lot of people, a lot of extras in certain scenes and stuff like that. So.
Now, what was it like to come on set with the other 6 people? You two knew each other before this project. Did you know the other cast members, and what was it like to sort of engage? It sounds like you guys, taped the pilot in a really short amount of time. So I don't know if you guys had a chance to meet each other before, but what was it like to work with some of the other cast members for the first time on set?
I've worked with Simeon in a different project, so I knew him from then. And with, oh my God, why am I forgetting his name right now? Oh, should I repeat what I just said? Yeah, I worked with Simeon in a different project, so I knew him from then. And then some of the other characters from networking events within the acting community, and we have the same agent, so that helps. We like 4 of us have the same agent, so that helps. And just Facebook and hey, let's collaborate on this, or maybe we can rehearse lines on this, or just inviting us to their own projects and whatnot. So that helps. It was easy because we always see them around in the industry. So.
And I worked with Simeon before on I know I worked with Simeon on one project last year, but me and Simeon have known each other for years, so it feels like we worked on a bunch of stuff together. I know Malcolm, he's good people. So a few people I knew, some people I didn't, but everybody's energy was good. Like even like people I may have not had a scene with, they hung out, everybody was cool. It was a group effort. It was real cool.
And very loving and respecting. I like the treatment on the set. There was no prima donna, so it was just like a big old family just doing something together, and it was just lovely. So I like that. It was very just warm
and still professional, like business taking care of everything good, everything. It's cool.
So viewers who are going to see the pilot on Wednesday, what can we expect? I'm really excited. Like, what are some of the things that I should prepare myself for, or I can expect in watching the show?
In general, it's just expect to laugh and expect to like look at things from a different perspective, because it's not going to be what people like expect or think. It's really, it's very satirical. It's different. So people are going to be like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't think that, or I guess that is an issue we have to think about in the community. How can we, it's really something like that. But like, that's why I was so interested. Like I told Mark before we even shot it, I was like, man, I want to see how this is going to come out, because for this project, it's like you're creating a different world, but like within the world where we come from. So it's going to be interesting to see like if we pull it off, or how people respond to it, and if it can be engaging to people. So,
and it's something that can actually happen, because people don't see Inglewood in the light that Mark is seeing it. But if we plant that little seed, it's like, hey, wait, well, we can actually do this with our community. We can actually make this happen, and change the way that the world sees us by us changing us, period.
Yeah. So I expect, like, after the screenings, I expect for some dialogue. Like, it's 2 screenings on Wednesday. I expect people to, like, afterwards, like, talk about what they saw and what they think, and like how it translates in reality to the community.
The different things that they can implement to actually make them happen. So.
And it's funny. So it's like, you always want to laugh. There's some good jokes in there, some good comedic content, some good historical references, and people can see how things that happened in the past, like maybe coming back again and happening again. And, it's some good stuff.
We do talk about the actual political climate of things happening in Chicago. So, yeah.
It sounds like, though, that there's content to make people really think after about either themselves, their family, sort of their own privilege or lack thereof, and sort of how we engage others in our community, and sort of what side of the privilege line do we sit on.
You have to, because like this is an important time I think we're living in right now. It's like all times are important, but in the future, I think we'll look back at this time like, man, something was really going on around that time. So certain things that Mark references, like historical references in the show, it's like he's doing that because it's like, look, it's happening again. Or look, here comes another big change. Like in this time, we have to be, we have to be at the forefront of things and not just on the back end and receiving end of it and not in control of anything. So he's just using his platform to really educate people about what happened to us in the past, and like, try to get some answers going, like what can we do now? Like how can we be proactive to make sure like we progress in our communities and everybody's included, not just the people who are educated and the people who are middle class. And so like everybody needs to be included in this. If not, it's just going to create a bigger divide and we still don't win. So I think it's a good thing Marcus doing with this project.
So there's some empowerment I hear.
Oh yeah, it's
we need
definitely
to empower our
It's always
entire
about
community.
empowerment.
That's what the whole thing is about, empowerment. It's like it's we have to empower our community, and we don't want to leave anybody behind. So we have to check ourselves, because some of us may be a little privileged.
Yeah, and if you pay attention to Mark's projects throughout the years, they're all really about empowerment. He's always trying to give back to the community through his art. At least that's how I see it.
Mhm.
You know, there's always an important message of how we can be better, period, as people, you know, in whatever circumstance we may be dealing with, but how can we improve? How can we make ourselves better, not just as individuals, but as a community at large?
Which is really timely in Chicago. I mean, I think it's awesome that the show was taped in Inglewood, which unfortunately makes the news for very negative reasons, right? For shootings and things like that. And so, given what you both just said in terms of empowering a community, I mean, it just seems really timely in Chicago to actually have the show, you know, released or come out or previewed, so that we could actually start thinking about what can each of us do in our own communities to empower our neighbors, empower ourselves, and sort of not yield to what we're seeing about ourselves on the news.
Because that's what happens. People see all the negative stuff, and it's like, well, this is how it is. It's nothing I can do. And it's like, no, it's a lot we can do. Yeah, it's a lot we can do. And that's what Mark is trying to do. Like, what can we do? Maybe we can do this. And but you know, the example is the project. You watch the project, and we give examples, and hopefully that stuff can apply to real life.
People can only teach what they know. So if they don't know better, they won't do better. But if you present an option, then that's something that they can actually think about. So the mind, what it conceives, it achieves. So if you put something new, and it's like, hey, well, maybe you should do this way, or maybe you can try this. But if they never know about it, they'll never know, and they'll never do it. But if you put it out there, they're like, well, now I have another option. I can either continue to do what I was doing, or I can try something new. But you have to be open to it. So that's the thing. You have to be open to it and be willing to implement it. So, and that the show talks a lot about that as well. You know, because one of the situations in I don't know if you've seen the picture that they use for the promotion of the night. He's standing, I'm sitting in the back with a big fro, and Simeon is on the other side, and we're having a community discussion. And in that community discussion, both sides have to come to term of, you know, who are they and what are they willing to do to collaborate and work together. So both have to drop egos, you know, and the privileged people, are they really that privileged, you know, and are you really better than those who are not? So there's this thing of you have to humble yourself and help your fellow, you know, brother and sister who might not be as well off as you, but they have something else to teach you. So it's basically just, you'll just have to see it.
I'm excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, now I want to go home and watch it now.
No, you'll just have to see it.
Tell us about a scene that you guys did together, without revealing too much, because we're all gonna, you know, some of us are gonna see the premiere or the pilot on Wednesday. Can you describe, you know, a little bit about your interaction on the set and your scene, or a scene as a married couple?
As a married couple,
well, since you're married in the show.
Right. Well, this is just the pilot. So like, this is the pilot. It's like maybe 22 minutes or something like that, 25 minutes maybe. So that being the pilot, it's like the introduction to the show. We don't have like so much time together where it's just us, because it's like, you know, you have to introduce everybody. It's a pilot. So most of our interaction, our time together is in the cafe that we own. But like I say, it's cool because you see like a couple running a business together. It's a community-based business, and you see how we're supportive. So there's some fun banter going on between me and Simeon's character, and then, you know, my wife just kind of like jumps in and just she's one of the guys, and kind of just like, you know, joins in. And I think it shows just how comfortable we are with each other in this setting, and even as a community. Like, it's like very laid back, and like me and her are super close. You know, Simbo's there with us, just like, this is the norm, this is what we do. Like, this is our space, this is our place. And now with the outsiders coming, they may like, you know, they may threaten that. So yeah, that's interesting.
We're an extension of each other to a certain degree. But
and like she mentioned earlier, like, I think the whole dynamic, me being Haitian, well, my character being Haitian, her character being Dominican, even though she's Dominican in real life, I think that's a cool like dynamic, just bringing in other groups from the diaspora into like the Chicago Black American story. I think that's always brings another layer.
Think about.
That's really true.
There's plenty of Haitian people on the South Side,
and Dominicans as well, but they usually just group us with, Hispanics and forget that we also went through the slave trade and that we were dropped off first before everyone else made it to the United States, So, yeah.
Thank you. You are watching Chocolate for the Soul with Ramona. We are joined with the cast from Black Privilege. We're going to take a break and come back with some other cast members, so stay tuned. Soul with Ramona. We want to thank our sponsor, Scene Chicago. Today, we are joined by the cast of Black Privilege. The pilot's going to be previewed on Wednesday at Chicago Industry Night. I again want to thank you guys for joining us. To my left, we're joined by Malcolm Banks.
Hey.
Thanks for being here, Malcolm.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about you and Black Privilege. Tell us who you are and your character in the show.
Oh man, telling you about me, that's gonna take a while. But let's see. I'm an actor, and I got an honor to be a part of this great cast of Chicago natives. Majority, like 95% of this cast is all from Chicago, which is like really, really dope. And I told Mark, and we all told Mark at the table read how honored we were just to be a part of this project and him trusting us as Chicago actors and not reaching out for LA actors or New York, anybody, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was really big of him. The character that he called me to play is Jay. And Jay is, let me see, what you call that? He is the typical stereotype. When you initially see him, you see the stereotype of what everybody in America thinks a Black man is. Right, they think he's dangerous, he's unapproachable, not a family man, all of these things. In the show that you'll learn that he's not that, he's something else. He's something that he had to adapt to be, you know what I mean? And so I think that him coming into this world where you have these affluent Black people, because Corey and his wife, and their status, they have their company. Simeon's character and his wife have their company, and then you have my character coming into this neighborhood where they're like, "What's going on? Why are you here?" So I think like the mixture of cultures. Well, I don't know if that's the right word to say cultures, but I don't know. I think that mixture is what's going to make the show something that stands out and be different.
So it sounds like your character adds a splash of color to the show. You kind of mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta have me in there.
Okay.
No, but yeah, it's. I think that when I saw it, because initially I was like, I want to be with Corey's. I want to play Corey's character. Like, he got the business. I was like, you know what I'm saying? But like, once I saw like the different dynamics of everybody and what they brought to the table, it was like, oh man, everybody brings something to the table that speaks to the neighborhood, speaks to who they are in the communities, from college graduates to people who didn't get the college graduate degree, and those who had to be blue collar, So I dig it.
So when Mark first spoke with you about the script or the role, he already knew you would play Jay, or did you audition for Jay? Like, how did you playing Jay come about?
You know what? I was in my feelings a little bit. This is what happened. So it went like, I'm sorry, Mark. It went like this. So I saw like Mark had auditions, right? So I'm like, oh man. And I just came off a shoot for something. And I got home and I got on my Facebook and I saw that he just had auditions for something. I'm like, dang, I ain't see you had auditions. What is this for? And then I saw it, I was like, oh man. So I was just about to reach out to him. And then he was like, hey, I want you to play Jay. I was like, oh, well, cool, good, yeah, I'll do that. It's like, yeah, I was like, yo, man. But no, he reached out to me and put me in the role of Jay, and you know, I really appreciate him for trusting me to play this guy, because I know he never seen me play this type of character before. So, you know, even getting the opportunity to do that was big, and I really appreciate it. And he also I got to well, you'll see it.
Well, we're excited to see it. So we're trying to get as much information about it as we can, so we can get other people, all our listeners and viewers, excited about seeing it too.
Oh man, you have to.
Malcolm, tell us how long you've been acting.
I've been acting for a solid 7 years.
Okay. And how did you get into acting?
I got into acting. It was kind of like based off of it was a fear. Like I've always been a musician. I've been in bands since I was in 5th grade, and I played trumpet all my life, pretty much. And I did jazz, and I did, you know, I think the hardest thing as a performer is to be a comedian, because you got to go up there, and that's like the toughest thing, I think. And then secondly is a public speaker, I think. And then so when I with the band, I was like, I could always hide behind my horn. I could always hide behind the band if I needed to. But acting was something I was like, I can't really talk in front of people. That was something that was really tough for me to do. So what happened was my cousin got murdered. He was like 19 or something like that. He didn't even, you know, he didn't even make it into his 20s, and he was in Inglewood. And it was something that snapped inside of me that was saying, like, what are you waiting for? You know, any moment could be your last. So why would you care about being embarrassed in front of a group of strangers that you may never see again? Because you may never be here again. So why would you lose out on something that you're really, really passionate about, or you really, really wanted to do? Like, ever since I seen Cool Runnings. So I was like, I always wanted to, I thought that was really cool. I thought movies were like just amazing. So when the opportunity came, my cousin passed away. That little fear that I had that was in me just went away, and then I just went gun ho and took some classes here and there, and I auditioned for some stuff. And the first thing I auditioned for, I booked it, and then it was uphill from there.
And you haven't looked back?
No, I have not.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing that story, because one of the things we try to talk about on this show is we try to inspire and motivate people to live their dreams. And I'm glad that both you and Rosalina talked about fear, because I think to some extent we all live with some level of fear. You know, it depends on how deep we bury it or how much we let it come to the surface. We're afraid that we're going to be embarrassed. We're afraid we're going to fail. We're afraid people are not going to accept whatever we believe our calling to be. So that you were able to use a really tragic experience to say, you know what, life is not guaranteed. It is short. We don't know how many days we have. I'm going to do the thing that I'm really passionate about. I just hope that somebody else listening, you know, who wants to be an actor or do commercials or theater or anything would be inspired to do it.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And it's like almost with any job or a corporate job, there's really no security. At any point, you can lose everything that you ever worked for, and then where do you start?
Exactly.
You know? So at the end of the day, it's like, what do you really want to do? What do you really love? And what do you not mind struggling for until you make it? Because to say that you won't struggle, that's a lie. You don't have to struggle. But to say that you won't have those moments where you're doubting if this is the right decision that I made, or, you know, I see my friends being successful. Like I'm 30 with no children, no boyfriend, no husband, no nothing, you know, living at home.
She's available.
No, I'm saying living at home. And I went from making comfortable money, right, and driving a BMW to letting all that go, getting my car repo. And, you know, I don't tell people when my car was repo because I was embarrassed, but now it's like, it doesn't matter anymore. You know, it's like I'm doing what I love. I went back to it, and now that I decided this is what I want to commit to, I'm going to stick with it because I had a corporate job and I was secure, but it was not really that secure, you know? So it's like whether you want to be a lawyer or you want to be a doctor or you want to be a musician, a producer, or whatever, you're going to have competition in all those areas. So what makes you successful is how hard are you willing to work for it and deal with the BS that you're going to have to deal with, period. Because with any career in any area, there's going to be sacrifices you're going to have to make. And only if you really love it, you're going to be willing to withstand those sacrifices and to go without. You know, it's kind of hard when you see your friends all getting married in relationships and you're like, I want to have, you know, a child and a husband, but knowing that you're not there, you know, or when you see them having successful businesses and careers and you're like, well, mine is not there. But then you have to remind yourself of, you know what? Remember all the things you've been able to accomplish, all the things you've been able to do. And also, if you come from nothing, if you come from a poverty background, you know, as I was telling you on our way here, I'm from the Dominican Republic. My parents, you know, came from nothing. My mom had this fear of being homeless, and that fear translated to me, and that's one of my biggest fears, is to be homeless. And I went through a time when I was corporate where I would look for places that if I was ever to be homeless, I can actually sleep under a bridge or squat or whatever, just so I would be prepared mentally for it. And as I mentioned earlier, what you think about, you bring about. And I think I kind of attracted that into my life. And now I'm in a place of, hey, you need to prepare yourself for success. And to be successful, you've hit rock bottom and you're building yourself back up. And yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing that because as, you know, a business owner, one of the things I grapple with is, you know, this sort of false sense of security when you work a job. And we all know people who get laid off unexpectedly or positions that close. And so one of the things I've had to accept in sort of this life is that there is no level of security, at least not in the way that we once thought, and that it's worth everything to live your dream because you never really know in your walk who else you're inspiring to live their own dream, because there's a little girl or someone who's watching you who's from the Dominican Republic or some other Caribbean island thinking, I really want to be a model. I really want to be an actress. I really want to be an engineer. And so, or I really want to be an actor. I'm from Chicago. I never thought about doing it. Who's going to watch you play Jay? Right? And say, you know what? I want to do what Malcolm Banks does.
That would be kind of nice. That would be nice.
Malcolm, tell us what it was like to work with Mark on the set.
Oh yeah, man. Working with Mark was it was cool. It's something to work with, you know, it's important. This is for young actors or actors in general, period. I guess you would know, but working with a director who knows what the hell they want to do is crucial. You know, it's nothing worse than getting on a set and the director doesn't know what they want to do, and time is wasted. I think that's the worst thing to do to anybody in any craft, at any job, any level, is to waste somebody's time. And Mark is like, time is money. So 100%. So all the time is utilized correctly, and he knows exactly what he wants. And if something creatively happens in the moment, he's open to it, you know. And that's like key. That's key to making being productive, getting things done. And keeping it artistic, because this is, at the end of the day, this is an art we're doing, you know, in a collaborative effort. Everybody's putting in their art. Every person counts, you know. So I think that's, if he's able to utilize each person in each scene and making sure that the art is being made. Yeah.
One of the things we talked about earlier was how important it was that the show was actually shot in Inglewood, and just how important it is for people to see that community in a positive light, because what we often hear is just so negative. Can you guys also talk about how important it is that the pilot was shot in Chicago? versus, New York or LA, where a lot of TV shows are filmed. Talk about, what's happening in Chicago in TV and film, and why it was so important that this was shot here and not some other city.
Me personally, I think it was crucial that in Chicago, you just don't see it. You just don't see that Chicago is the platform is here, and then it's depicted with a different group of talent that's not from here, but they're supposed to depict us. And that doesn't make any sense to me. That's just like us being like doing a New York. Not to say I can't do a New York show if I had to do it. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
At the same time, if you got somebody right here, why would you not use the Chicago? You know what I'm saying? Use the Chicago. Chicago, architecturally is its own thing. So why would you take it? You know what I mean? Why would you want to go somewhere else? It's just that. Go ahead.
The thing that for years they had been saying about Chicago and why they don't cast Chicago actors in shows is that because we're a theater city, right? About 5 years ago, they did a symposium on the theater capital of the world, and they consider Chicago to be the theater capital of the world, not New York. Here's where you come to fail. Here's where you can put on a show and test it, and then if it's successful here, you can take it to New York and take it to other places. But they always saw Chicago actors as theater actors, and they didn't think they can compete with those who had more on-screen experience as the New York actors and the LA actors, because we didn't have that many shows here. But that was about 10 years ago, 5 years ago when I started acting, And in the last few years, we've had this renaissance of productions coming here because of the incentive that Chicago is giving filmmakers and whatnot, and tax breaks that, so we can have more shows being done here. And what I love about Mark shooting the show here and using Chicago actors is that we get to, one, build our portfolio, show our range. If you're theatrically trained, like myself and Corey, and I don't know if you're theatrically trained as well.
I certainly am. I studied under the tutelage of Harry Lennox.
Nice. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, hey, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
But with that, there's a certain set skills that you have, but people would say, oh, you're too theatrical, you're too loud for on camera, you need to tone it down. So now we have these classes that cater to that, but when you take a class, usually it's like they're preparing you for the role of the one-liner, the two-liner, not extensive roles as they have in LA and in New York. But when you have a show that's being filmed here and the director trusts you to carry out this character, that's putting trust in us, and the world will see that hey, you know what, we are not just good theater actors, but we're also good film actors and whatnot, and TV show actors, and they'll start hiring more of our people here instead of saying, oh, they're really great actors, but they're too theatrical. No, we can also do film and we can also do TV. We can play small, and speak with our eyes and our gentle movement and whatnot without having to be extremely loud, So
Corey, you want to chime in on this?
I personally feel like it was a good idea to shoot in Chicago just because people here need work. It goes back to the question you asked earlier about like what are you doing between time? I think LA is still LA. It has the most work. Atlanta has a lot of work. There's always stuff going on in New York. Chicago is picking up, but it's still like it's not a lot. So the fact that Mark is shooting a project here, it's a SAG project. You can get paid even if it's a small amount of money. That's still a rare thing here in Chicago on the indie level. If you're doing any type of independent film work, TV work here in Chicago, and you get paid a penny, that is almost miraculous. Seriously,
it's a blessing.
You know what I mean? Like
it's a blessing.
So he's giving people work. That alone is a good reason. If it was a story about Miami and he shot here, I still would have did it.
Yeah, true that.
Okay, we gonna pretend it's Miami. Okay, let's go.
Tape along the lakefront.
Exactly.
You're listening to Chocolate for the Soul with Ramona on IntellectualRadio.com. I want to thank the cast of Black Privilege, Malcolm Banks, Rosalina Mota, Corey Hendricks. Thank you guys so much for joining us and telling us about the show. So Chicago Industry Night is Wednesday. we will see the pilot of the show. And I want to thank Mark Harris of 1555 Films and our sponsor, Scene Chicago. And we're just super excited. We look forward to more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
having us down.
Join us next week. Thank you and have a great week, everybody.